in the 21st century, fewer decisions are harder for new parents than whether or not to circumcise their son. Yes, male circumcision as a practice has been around for over a millennia, rooted in ancient religion and custom. But any practice or procedure that's been practiced for thousands of years should raise questions over what place it has in modern society. Because of people's various upbringings, religious backgrounds, and manhood, this topic continues to stir up controversy and debate everywhere. Nonetheless, it's a conversation that needs to be had. Personally, as a female, I never gave male circumcision a second thought. So I decided to speak with Georganne Chapin of Intact America to hear her side of the story. I first asked her when circumcision jumped from being a religious to a mainstream surgical procedure.
Most Americans do not understand that circumcision was started in the 19th century at a time when the most horrible thing to do was to masturbate. Circumcision was posed by Victorian doctors in England and America as a way to stop boys from pleasuring themselves. It was also promoted to cure all kinds of maladies, and you're going to laugh, but this is all extremely well documented in the literature. Circumcision was claimed to prevent tuberculosis or to cure it, to prevent insanity or to cure it, to prevent or cure hip dysplasia, to fix crossed eyes, of course to prevent venereal disease. That claim has recurred over the years. And then finally it was kind of bought into as a way of keeping boys clean, as they put it. And that was really a function of the fact that in the early 20th century, populations immigrating from southern Europe were, the men tended to be intact, and they were poor people living in poor areas, in urban areas of the country. So being circumcised was associated with poverty, and being intact was associated with poverty, and being circumcised was associated with people who were affluent enough to have their babies in the hospitals, where doctors would immediately cut off the evil foreskin from these poor newborn babies. So it really became entrenched as a medical procedure during a time of extreme ignorance about bodily functions and the causes of various illnesses. And then it became a routine obstetrical intervention and ultimately a great moneymaker for the American medical profession.
Let's talk about the arguments that are maintained to support circumcision, Georganne, like hygiene and disease prevention.
Well, there's never been any proof at all that circumcision prevents any diseases. The latest claim, of course, for HIV is completely bogus. American cemeteries are full of circumcised boys and men who died from AIDS. Cutting off a body part, a healthy, normal body part, doesn't prevent you from getting any kind of sexually transmitted disease. The hygiene argument is also bogus. Number one, unwashed body parts have never been proven to threaten the world order or to cause disease in and of themselves. It's pretty much somebody's own personal preference as to how much or how little they wash. We also learn to keep all kinds of other body parts clean, so we learn to brush our teeth and to wash our backsides when we go to the bathroom. And why this frontal part of a man's anatomy is supposed to be so unbelievably threatening and so dirty is really kind of mystifying when you think about it. Women's genitals are just as complicated as men's and just as difficult to wash, and there's no big push in the United States for shaving down women's genitals as a way of...
Let's talk about the arguments, of course, against circumcision. I think the main one is the loss of sensitivity in a male's penis. Has this been proven?
Sure it has. And you really, if you told me there are no studies done about what cutting off people's fingertips, whether it's proven that they lose sensitivity, I would say, do you really need to do a study that cutting off the most sensitive part of your fingers makes you lose sensitivity. Of course you do. Cutting off the most sensitive part of a man's penis, of course it reduces sensitivity. The arguments that say that it does not affect men's sensitivity go against, of course, the very reason why circumcision was promoted. From Maimonides, a Jewish philosopher from the 12th century, promoted circumcision, said that circumcision was in fact a good thing because it kept men and women from focusing so much on pleasure. In the 19th century, they cut off boys' foreskins in order to reduce the pleasure from masturbation. So of course it reduces sensitivity. But even if it didn't, and even if it did prevent to some degree or reduce certain diseases that a boy or a man could get later in life, none of that is a justification for strapping down a healthy, normal, newborn child and cutting off part of his body.
I mean, no medical institution in the developed world actually endorses circumcision, as far as I know.
That's correct.
In most countries, children are not circumcised. Why do doctors still suggest it to American parents? Or do they?
I think they're too... yes, many of them, too many of them do. I think there's several reasons. One is it's a terrible thing to... People don't like to admit that what they've been doing for so long is a really bad thing. The second thing is many doctors, most American doctors at this time were probably circumcised themselves as children, and it's hard for them to think that maybe that was something that was not only unnecessary but bad. And the third reason is that in the U.S., doctors make, the more procedures that they do, the more money they make. So circumcision has become a time-honored way for obstetricians and other doctors, pediatricians, to make money. Hospitals make money off of it. Doctors make money off of it. Medical supply industry makes money off of it, and now there's a cosmetic industry that takes stolen foreskins, because they are stolen from their rightful owners, and makes anti-wrinkle cream and other cosmetic products out of it. So it is an industry for sure, and baby boys are paying the price every day, and American men are paying the price as they get older, and they are living with only a part of their natural anatomy.
Horrifying statement there. I didn't realize that they're actually using the foreskin for cosmetic reasons. Georganne, a really barbaric practice. It's time that it, more knowledge is told about it. Thank you so much, Georganne Chapin, Executive Director, Intact America.